What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, we're going to be using Shadow Dragonair. Now, you may be wondering, where have I been? Well, I was down in London for the Pokemon Go European International Championships. Yes, if you weren't aware, Pokemon Go PvP is a part of the Play Pokemon Tournament series alongside the VGC, the TGC, and Pokemon Unite. So we have tournaments all around the world all year long, competing their way to Worlds, which this year is going to be in Yokohama, Japan. Now, I was hosting and shoutcasting this tournament, so if you guys want to go back and watch the insane battles that we have 3 days of content. The first day, and I'll have it all linked down in the description for you. The first day of content was the casters hosting and having caster battles and just kind of having a fun day with you all. Day 2 was the first day of the tournament, which was the bulk of the battles, and day 3 was the top 3 cut and the champion or the grand finals, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, the reason why I'm choosing Shadow Dragonair is because Tauntaun Battus won with Shadow Dragonair, and there was no Trevenant on any of the teams in the top 3, which was absolutely insane, and it is a must watch. Now, Shadow Dragonair here obviously is going to be weak to some Ice and Fairy type Pokemon, so that is why we're going to be pairing it with Registeel. We're going to look to utilize a safe swap with Noctowl to draw out Alolan Ninetales or to draw out some of those other Ice type Pokemon. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Be sure to go check out that tournament because it was absolutely insane. And let me know what you guys think about Shadow Dragonair. That was a long intro. I'm going to put a timestamp so you guys can skip ahead. And let's get into it. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Registeel on the lead versus Noctowl. So this is a pretty good matchup for us, but it's all a matter of what else they have on their team. Obviously, with the Noctowl, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pairing of Lantern back there because of the dominance that core has in the meta. We're going to go ahead and let that first Shadow Ball go through. It doesn't do too much damage, and we're now going to go ahead and go for Zap Cannon. Hopefully, we can apply the debuff here, which might force them to swap out because we do get a shield and no debuff, unfortunately. So they're going to go ahead and stay in and try to get another Shadow Ball off, and that is why I tried to catch the charge move. Now, hopefully this is Shadow Ball. It is beautiful. Now, if we got the debuff, they would have probably swapped out because they wouldn't have wanted to waste that energy and damage, but now we have a Registeel versus Noctowl, 2-to-1 shield advantage right here. No energy on the opponent's Noctowl, which is going to come in clutch later on. Now, Registeel right here is obviously probably going to be going straight Zap Cannon, so I'm going to go ahead and look to no shield right here, as it will one-shot us. Boom! Yeah, down we go. Actually went down to a lock-on, but that's okay. I can now come in with my own Registeel and go for a Focus Blast because I have quite a bit of energy from catching that charge move right on our Noctowl. So we're going to go ahead and go for that Focus Blast here. We get a second shield. This is very interesting. This might now open the door for Shadow Dragonair to sweep this game. I will give up one shield here on the Zap Cannon, and we do see a swap out now into Sableye, so I'm going to go ahead and go for Zap Cannon here to do a lot of neutral damage. Then we're going to come in and farm down with Shadow Dragonair because the Dragon Breath damage is insane. We also get an attack debuff as well, and this is looking to be a good game. The only hard-hitting move left in this game is going to be a return or foul play because Registeel's out of energy and Noctowl is out of energy. So let's see what we can do, and this is why Shadow Dragonair can be so deadly, is the body slam spam with the added coverage of Aqua Tail. And as you guys are going to see, we get to the next body slam in time and just completely shredded apart this Noctowl. Shadow Dragonair was a force to be reckoned with this weekend, and it's a force to be reckoned with in Go Battle League because now we can get to this Aqua Tail right here, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. We're going to go ahead and checkmate our opponent by swapping into Registeel to force them to throw energy. Registeels can never load up with 2 charge moves. It's impossible because of the energy cost, so now we can safely farm down with Dragon Breath, and that is going to be a good game. This was the whole strategy for today. Have a good lead or draw out the hardest counter to Dragonair with Noctowl. Now, Defense Form Deoxys is kind of tricky. We are going to stay in this matchup because we want to try to do as much neutral damage with Zap Cannon as we can, and we don't necessarily have to give up a shield on Thunderbolt. So we're going to go ahead and let this go. They do in fact have Thunderbolt, so now we're going to go ahead and go for the Zap Cannon, hoping to apply that debuff and hoping it lands. And then we're going to go ahead and swap out into Noctowl. We get the attack debuff as well. And now Noctowl is in a really good position where we could potentially force a shield right here from them. Sky Attack may not be enough to KO, but we get a shield anyways, which is beautiful. Now, this Thunderbolt here, it's a tough decision. Do we give up a shield? Do we not? I'm going to go ahead and shield, and unfortunately it was just a Rock Slide. Granted, both do super effective damage, but now we have a mirror fight, and that Defense Form Deoxys has a little bit of energy, so we have to be careful with that. Now, thankfully, they don't have an Alolan Ninetales. They don't have a Galarian Stunfisk. If they did, it would have come into Noctowl right away, which is telling me, as reading this team, that Shadow Dragonair could potentially have a lot of play. If there was, in fact, an Alolan Ninetales or maybe even a Abomasnow in the back, I think it would have come in right away. So we're going to go ahead and swap it in the Shadow Dragonair and Dragon Breath down, getting us ahead on energy. So let's see what decides to come in. It's going to be a Charizard. This makes a lot of sense. Now, thankfully, Dragonair here has access to Dragon Breath and Aqua Tail. Now, Dragon Breath doesn't do super effective damage, but you guys are seeing how much it is chunking, as we will give up a shield here on the Dragon Claw because it's going to one-shot us. Plus, we want to try to get to that Body Slam in time. Now, they make a beautiful swap on the actual count, catching the charge move. Maybe they fielded it out right there. Dragon Breath is hard to count, but they made a beautiful swap, and they are now forced to throw. Had they let me do a couple more Dragon Breaths, it would have been game over. Now, this is the tough decision right here. What I'm going to try to do is come in with Noctowl and try to catch the Dragon Claw on Registeel. Now, unfortunately for me, they are now loading up, and they could potentially have a Blast Burn and Dragon Claw, but I think they are 1 or 2 wing attacks away. So Registeel goes down. We do 1 wing attack, and that is going to be a good game. So again, hard team read right there. They didn't really have the best answer to Dragonair, which we were able to leverage. All right, we have Swampert here on the lead. So this is a tough lead matchup. We're going to go ahead and go into Noctowl. And like I said, if there is an Alolan Ninetales in the back, it comes out right away, which is beautiful for Shadow Dragonair because it has a lot more wiggle room to potentially sweep. Now, this is also a good situation that they decided to no-shield the Sky Attack because now my Registeel can fully farm down, which means we'll have a Focus Blast ready to go for the Swampert. We get an extra wing attack in right there as well, which is perfect because that added little bit of extra damage is going to help out the Lock-On farm down because this is going to take a while. Lock-On only does 1 damage here against the Alolan Ninetales, and they have a good amount of HP left, so they will probably be able to get off 2 Dazzling Gleams, but we will for sure have 100 energy for the Swampert that is likely going to be coming back in. That way we can give our Dragonair 2-to-1 shield advantage. So Dazzling Gleam does land. We fully farm down. Now I'm expecting that Swampert to come in, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Focus Blast, and now we're going to swap out right away into the Shadow Dragonair to get ahead on energy. And Dragon Breath, they actually have an Abomasnow in the back, which is really tough, but this is something cool I want you guys to note. I want you guys to pay attention to the damage that we are doing with our fast moves. Mind you, we're taking super effective, and we're doing neutral to them. Look at this. We are basically neck and neck right here. That's Dragon Breath versus Powder Snow. This is absolutely insane and just goes to show we completely take out Abomasnow. By shield, we completely take out the Abomasnow. Now, I shouldn't have thrown the Body Slam. I should have gone for Dragon Breaths. But ultimately, my Registeel is going to go down anyways as we go down to 1 Mud Shot right there. But that is going to be a good game, very well played. Like you saw right there, that was Ice-type fast moves that we were getting hit with, the Powder Snow, and we beat it. Just raw fast move to fast move. All right, we got knocked out here on the lead, so they're going to go ahead and swap in the Trevenant, and this is what's beautiful. I love sometimes when you can RPS an opponent, because what they likely have in the back is going to be a Lantern, and Trevenant right here, unfortunately, is just going to get farmed down. Now, I will say, if you are a Trevenant user, I would never really safe swap it in this meta because of Noctowl. You cannot take down a Noctowl if you run with the traditional moveset of Seed Bomb and Shadow Ball. It's just not going to happen, and you're not going to like the energy that this Noctowl has on the back end. So, we're just going to go ahead and fully farm down. Now, we'll have to see if the opponent's Noctowl decides to come back in. And let's see if they do. They do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go for back-to-back Sky Attacks. We might be able to get 3 Sky Attacks off here, which could force a shield from them as well. So we're going to go ahead and go for another. But they're going to be forced to throw against us. They could commit to the farm down, but they would have to give up a shield in order to do so. So we're going to go ahead and try to go for another Sky Attack, but they decide to throw. So we're going to go ahead, let this go, come in with Registeel, load up on energy, and we will see them swap out now into Medicham. And this can be dangerous. It all depends on the moveset that this Medicham has. what we're going to see here is that counter is actually really adding up. So unfortunately for me, this is not looking like a good situation as Dragon Breath. Even though counter's neutral, we are losing the fast move fight against a Medicham. And they have Dynamic Punch. Of all movesets to have, this is not looking good because now they can farm us down, which is just terrible, and they potentially can get to 2 Dynamic Punches against us. So we're going to go ahead and shield and just pray that we can get to the Focus Blast in time as we stop that next Dynamic Punch. We're very, very close, and we do get it. So hopefully this is enough to KO. Well, it is going to be enough to KO right here. So we do take it out, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. But my goodness, how close did that get? I just started fearing for my life because a Dynamic Punch Medicham can really break things apart if you take super effective damage from it, especially when it has that amount of energy. So good game. All right, moving into the next one. We have Registeel in the lead versus Defense Form Deoxys again. So we're going to play this very similar to the previous matchup. We're going to go ahead and go for Zap Cannon, hoping to apply that debuff, hoping that it lands as well, because that just gives a lot more wiggle room for Dragonair and Noctowl in the back as we do let the Thunderbolt go through. And then after we throw the Zap Cannon, we're going to go ahead and swap into that Noctowl, kind of force them to stay in and see if we can get to the charge move before them. So let's see how this plays out. They instead decide to swap into Minty Registeel here, so we're going to go ahead and go for Shadow Ball. And this is kind of a tough situation. I necessarily can't win. I mean, I could try to force switch right here, so I might look to give up a shield because I want to try to get a lot of resources from them if I can. So I'm going to go ahead and shield. And what I'm hoping for is a no debuff, which we do get right there. Now this is going to allow me to go for another Shadow Ball, and this is where they potentially could shield, but most Registeels won't. They'll decide to let that go through, and now this is where I could get to the Sky Attack right here. But ultimately, I'm going to have to let this go. It's going to hurt, but I instead decide to shield the Zap Cannon and try to see if I can commit to the farm down, but I'm not going to be able to, so I have to throw the Sky Attack. I've already committed 1 shield, and when you do that with the Noctowl, you have to go into 2 against Registeel, so we do get a shield. We're going to go ahead and go for another Sky Attack now to try to force that final shield from them. And then we're going to look, we get it, we're going to look now to swap into our own Registeel, and they decide to swap back in to Defense Form Deoxys, which is perfect because now they have to throw the Thunderbolt in order to take us out. I can't come in with Noctowl right here to farm down, I have to come in with Dragonair, but hopefully I can have a charge move ready for Registeel if they do decide to come in. So we're going to go ahead and come in with Dragonair. We're going to farm down with Dragon Breath. We don't have a charge move ready, but we are 1 Dragon Breath away, and they decide to bring in Sableye. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Aqua Tail right here. And this is now going to come down to me potentially catching the charge move. Let's see if I can do it. No, I don't have enough time on the switch clock right there. So unfortunately, we are going to go down, but we kept our Noctowl alive. So it has a good amount of health remaining. It can survive a foul play. And they decide to swap in the Registeel, and we were able to farm down, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. So actually investing 2 shields into my Noctowl paid off there. Alright, we got Empoleon here on the lead. This is a tough one right here because Empoleon just does so much neutral damage and resists like every single fast move on this team, right? Wing Attack, Dragon Breath, and Lock On. So the only way to really take it down is with Focus Blast. And Shadow Ball basically. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shield once in this lead matchup, hoping to get off another Focus Blast here against the Empoleon because we should be able to survive the Hydro Cannon. And once we let this go, we should be able to survive right here, barely, and get to this Focus Blast. We now need to swap out into Noctowl, especially if they decide. We're going to swap out either way because we want to save Registeel as a sacrificial swap, so they do decide to stay in. And now this is kind of a tough situation where Hydro Cannon is just going to do so much damage, neutral damage here, that I'm forced to give up my second shield against this Empoleon, and now we do see an Altaria come in. So thankfully we are quite a bit ahead on energy, and we do have Shadow Dragonair in the back, and this Altaria might be the only really good answer for it. Yes, the Empoleon has that added steel typing to resist Dragon Breath and Aqua Tail and Body Slam, but ultimately I think the Dragonair can take it down. Now if they go for Moonblast here, which I think they do, we might just be able to survive, which we do, and now we can get off this Sky Attack. This is beautiful. So now we're in a good situation where we've taken down the Altaria, they decide to come in with Pelipper, And now we're going to try to catch the Hurricane here on Registeel, which is why we kept it alive and swapped out right away. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Body Slam. And again, they can't throw a Weather Ball, so they're obviously going to build up to the Hurricane and go for that. So now I'm going to go ahead and swap to catch the Charge move, and we do! This is beautiful! Buckle up, because Shadow Dragonair still has a long way to go, as now we see the Empoleon come in. We're going to desperately try to do as much damage as we can. We have to throw on CMP in order to win. First of all, hopefully this Aqua Tail does enough. It does. Boom, down goes the Empoleon. That is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. We got Registeel on the lead versus Azumarill. So I haven't actually seen this Pokemon in a long time, but we have a good answer for it right here, and they do swap into a Alolan Marowak, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Dragonair right away. Our Dragon Breath damage, especially since they are Fire Spin, is just going to outpace as we go for an Aqua Tail here, and they decide to let it go. So I'm going to go ahead and safely shield this and look to farm down. Now we have a lot of potential Body Slam damage on the back end, as we will be resisting the fast moves of Bubble here from the Azumarill. And thankfully, we have a shield, and Switch Clock is potentially coming back up. Now, I'm reading that there's going to be a double ghost in the back. I don't know what that second ghost is going to be, but it's either going to be a Trevenant, a Chandelure, or a Sableye. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go for Body Slam here, and they're really loading up on energy. So what I'm going to look to do is actually catch the charge move on Registeel, which we do. They built up so much energy to try to be able to have energy on the back end that I instead counteract it by catching that charge move, and now we see the Chandelure come in here, and thankfully we can get to the Zap Cannon in time to force that shield. Now Chandelure is still a tough Pokemon to take down, but we get the attack drop, which is beautiful, so we're going to go ahead and let the charge move go through it, as it is going to be Flame Charge, so their attack is now basically negated right here, so back to neutral. Now I'm going to come in with Dragonair because Noctowl I think is going to have a better bet on the back end, and we're going to go ahead and look to commit to the farm down. I will have to give up a shield here, but I think Dragon Breath is going to be able to take it, and I should be able to get to 2 Body Slams against the Azumarill because we resist Bubble. So this is going to be a good game, as 1 Body Slam is now going to be coming through, forcing that final shield, and we do get to the second one just in time. Shadow Dragonair coming in clutch, able to actually take out Alolan Marowak, Chandelure, and the Azumarill. What a good game. Didn't even need knocked out. Alright, moving to the next one. We have Registeel on the lead versus Shadow Swampert. So this is a really tough one here. We're going to go ahead and swap out right away into the Noctowl, get ahead on energy, and they decide to come in with Pidgeot, which is honestly not the best answer if you're looking for a counter, which tells me that maybe they don't have an answer in the back. So I'm going to play to that with Shadow Dragonair, knowing that, you know, they don't have an Alolan Ninetales, they don't have Galarian Stunfisk, they don't have Bastiodon, they don't have any of that. So we're going to let the charge move go through. It is going to be Brave Bird. Now I'm going to go ahead and go for a Sky Attack here, hoping to take out the Pidgeot. This is going to be tough, though, if they do decide to let it go, because now Swampert is in a position to fully farm down, but not before I get to a Sky Attack here. So thankfully, this is going to put some pressure, some much-needed pressure that we need on their shields, but they can still farm down. So they have a lot of energy, so I will have to give basically 2 shields here into Shadow Dragonair in order to stop the damage. Even though Hydro Cannon is resisted, it still does quite a bit. And thankfully, we shielded an Earthquake. That was huge right there. That's a lot of energy wasted on their end. And sure enough, they do have Noctowl that has come in. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Aqua Tail here just to do some nice chip damage. And then we're going to bail into the Registeel, which now forces them basically to surrender because they don't... Shadow Dragonair is going to take it on the back end. So that is going to be a good game. All right, moving to the next one. We got Registeel versus Cofagrigus. So... we don't necessarily, I mean, we do have Noctowl on the back end, which is a decent counter, but what we want to do here is try to balance our energy and shields if we can. So we're going to go ahead and let the first one go. They threw Shadow Ball exactly on the energy, so what we're going to do now is try to catch the next Shadow Ball on our Noctowl, as the Zap Cannon does land, and it does get an attack drop. So now we're going to look to go for the Noctowl swap, and we do catch it. This is a attack debuffed, double resisted, or triple resisted, double resisted, heavily resisted Noctowl catch on the Shadow Ball, which is beautiful. So now the Cofagrigus is out of energy and low, which means Dragonair is going to eat it up, as we can go for multiple Sky Attacks right here against their Altaria. We're going to go ahead and look to no shield as the Sky Attack's not going to be enough to take us out, and we should be able to get to another one in time. And our Registeel as well has a good amount of health, where we could survive a charge move potentially from the Altaria right here. So we can't get to another Sky Attack. Unfortunately, we do go down. But Registeel here is going to force energy now from them, which is beautiful, because if we can survive this, we will have a Focus Blast ready to go. So the Moonblast, we do survive. We swap out into Dragonair right away. And remember that Cofagrigus is low, and in comes the Serperior. So this is going to be a good game as we resist everything unless they're throwing Aerial Ace, which I imagine they won't. This is probably going to be Frenzy Plant or Leaf Tornado. And it was the Frenzy Plant. So this is looking to be a good game. Dragon Breath is going to take it, and this is why Dragon Breath, if left unchecked by typings, as you can see, Cofagrigus just gets shredded down instantly. If left unchecked, right? No fairies, no ice, no steals. Shadow Dragonair is going to run through some teams if you give it shields, if you give it energy, and you bait out those hard counters. So we're going to go ahead and shield right here. And then I think I do swap into Registeel to throw the Focus Blast because I banked it. So I wanted to do a nice little counter swap here, and the little Focus Blast, boom, taking out the Serperior. So that's going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. We have Registeel versus Lantern on the lead. So obviously we want to keep Noctowl away from this, and Registeel can get us a good lead advantage right here by applying debuffs and getting ourselves shields. So we're going to go ahead and go for Zap Cannon. Now my phone was a bit glitchy the more I was doing these battles today, unfortunately. So the Thunderbolt, I don't know if you can tell with the frame rates, but it just felt like that. But we're going to go ahead and go for Zap Cannon here, as it will get shielded. So that's beautiful. This also tells us they really want to get rid of Registeel, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Noctowl in the back or another Flyer, as we are going to go ahead and let this next charge move go through, and it's just going to be a Surf, which now allows us to get to this Zap Cannon in time as well. So if they decide to let this go, please let this go. They do. Do we get the attack debuff? We do. So now they're going to have to throw energy, because if I get to this Focus Blast, it's game over for that Noctowl. So they're going to go ahead and throw that Surf. But this is a good opportunity, as we got the attack debuff for Dragonair to come in and farm down with Dragon Breath. We already resist all the moves here from Lantern, but with the attack drop, we aren't going to take as much damage from that Thunderbolt. So we can now farm down. Let's see what they have in the back. It is going to be Registeel. Okay, so this isn't too bad of a matchup. If you think about it, we have 2-to-1 shield advantage against them, and the only way Registeel is really going to be doing any kind of serious damage is with charge moves. And Shadow Dragonair is living this mid-game matchup because we can constantly spam neutral damage with Aqua Tail. Now, I am kind of antsy about potentially catching a Focus Blast if I can on Noctowl, but I will give up a shield here to stop that Focus Blast. And as you can see, Shadow Dragonair is shredding apart this Registeel, so much in fact that we are now forcing their final shield of this game, and we do get it. And we can actually farm down. They're not going to be able to throw another charge move, so we swap in to the Noctowl Mirror here. And that's basically going to be a good game. The Registeel just has no pressure. It doesn't have a low energy move to bait with. It doesn't have a hard hitting fast move to handle us. Ultimately, Shadow Dragonair, even facing off against the Steel typing, was able to take that mid game matchup, as we now go for multiple Sky Attacks here against the Noctowl. And thankfully, because of our little bit of extra Dragon Breath damage that we did to the opponent's Noctowl, we should be able to take it out with this next Sky Attack, as we can hang on right here. This should do enough neutral damage, but again, Registeel cannot build up to 2 charge moves, so it will go down either way. It doesn't matter how much farming it does right here. We're going to take it out with Dragon Breath, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next one, we have Registeel on the lead versus Pelipper. So this is a pretty cool situation for us, where we can seriously get ourselves some shields early because of Zap Cannon, but we also need to be careful about them potentially swapping to catch the charge move. So we can let these Weather Balls go through. This is perfectly fine with me. It doesn't do too much damage. I just want to try to apply that pressure early, get some shields, because Noctowl and Dragonair could potentially sweep as we get shield number 1 and an attack drop, which means they might try to swap out now, as Weather Ball is not going to be doing as much damage, so we need to be careful about that. So we're going to go ahead and let this Weather Ball go through. They decide to stay in, but they swap at the last second, and they catch the charge move. This is really unfortunate for me, as Zap Cannon now is going to be caught on the Venusaur, but we do get the attack drop, which now is going to allow my Noctowl to basically fully farm down right here, as Sludge Bomb isn't going to be doing as much damage. So we're going to go ahead and just fully farm down. No worries right here, as Noctowl can easily take this mid-game matchup. And as you guys are going to see, Frenzy Plant and Sludge Bomb, yes, it gets us somewhat low, but it's not threatening, as we will see Pelipper likely come back in. And Noctowl has, I believe, 2 charge moves ready to go. So instead, they come in with Registeel. So that's a misplay on my end. I should have been looking at the top right, knowing that they would probably do that. So I'm just going to go for Shadow Ball now. But ultimately, how I'm reading this game is if I give shields to my Dragonair, I'm going to be taking this one, especially since we have the Registeel down to 50% HP. And now I'm going to go ahead and go for another Shadow Ball, which just goes to show how deadly a Noctowl can be if left to fly, basically. And now I'm going to counter swap into Registeel, hoping to catch their charge move, but they instead counter swap into Pelipper, throwing their own Weather Ball, which is fine by me, because yes, they can farm me down, but they instead decide to go for another charge move. But either way, I would have had Shadow Dragonair ready to go to shred down this Pelipper and Registeel. So we're going to go ahead and look to come in with the Dragonair, Dragon Breath down, and that is going to be a good game as they decide to surrender. So good battle right there. Alright, and that was the final one of this video, and I got a shiny Tapu Bulu from Go Battle League, which is really cool. I don't know if you guys have gotten that as well before. I don't think this is my first shiny, but it feels like it's my first shiny. And it's a beautiful shiny as well. It's got that Instinct vibes, the black and yellow look to it. So really happy about that, and really happy with the performance from Shadow Dragonair today. Again, if you guys want to go check out the EUIC, I'll have links down in the description. There's all full videos on YouTube and Twitch. So like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.